There are moments in life when everything seems silent, when prayers go up like incense, but there is no thunder, no sign, no shaking of the earth in response. Days turn to weeks and weeks to years. You've waited, you've hoped, you've believed. You've cried in the night and risen in the morning expecting breakthrough. Yet the answer tarried. But hear this, what if the silence was not absence but preparation? What if the delay was not denial but divine orchestration? There is a mystery in the ways of the Most High. He moves not according to the clocks of men, but by the appointed seasons of heaven. He is never late because he does not walk within time. He commands time, and now a word is being sent forth. A trumpet is sounding from the heavens to the wilderness, from the secret place to the public square. The wait is over, the curtain is rising, the divine moment is upon you. This is the hour when the promises begin to breathe. What you saw in visions, what you clung to through storms, what you whispered in desperation, he has heard it all. The tears you thought were wasted were counted by angels. The nights you felt alone were watched by the eyes of the Eternal. And now comes the shift. The God who moved the Red Sea, who brought down the walls of Jericho, who called Lazarus from the tomb, he has not changed. The same voice that spoke into the void and created light is now speaking over your delay. The same hand that lifted Joseph from the dungeon and seated him next to Pharaoh is about to lift you. The same Spirit that hovered over the waters is now hovering over your situation. You were not waiting in vain. Your wilderness had a purpose. Your hiddenness had a reason. Heaven was aligning, shaping, purifying, preparing. And now the fullness of time is here. The seed that was buried is breaking through the soil. The oil that was crushed is ready to flow. The doors that groaned under the weight of resistance are now beginning to swing open. You must not miss this moment. This is the appointed time. The season has shifted. The wind is changing direction. What was blocked is being released. What was delayed is being accelerated. What was withheld is now being poured out. This is not just your turnaround. It is your divine release. The trumpet of destiny is sounding. The chains are falling. The heavens are moving, and the word is clear. Your waiting is over. God is about to do it. There are moments in life that feel like eternity. You pray, and the skies are silent. You knock, and no door opens. You wait, but nothing moves. Days blur into nights, and nights into seasons of stillness. You wonder if God has forgotten. You question if the promise still stands. But hear this now, the delay was not a denial. It was not rejection. It was divine, a holy pause. A sacred stillness filled with purpose. The Most High is not rushed. He is not driven by panic or pressured by time. When he delays, he does not abandon. When he pauses, he does not forget. His delay is not neglect. It is preparation. The womb must carry the child until the time is full. The seed must remain underground until the roots are strong enough to bear the breaking. The promise must incubate until the conditions are aligned, until the timing is precise, until you are ready to carry the weight of the fulfillment. Look at the wilderness 40 years for Israel. Look at the prison years for Joseph. Look at the cave, David running and hiding. The calling was sure, the anointing was real, the vision was divine, but the delay was required. Not for destruction, but for transformation. Not to crush the vessel, but to forge it. Not to withhold, but to increase the capacity for glory. The holy pause is not inactivity. In the stillness, heaven is working. While you saw nothing, the roots were growing deeper. While the world saw no movement, God was setting things in order. He was moving pieces you couldn't see, opening gates you didn't know existed, shifting hearts, aligning circumstances, softening your soul. You are not ready yet. and neither was the world around you. But when the fullness of time comes, it will happen suddenly, as if the delay had never been. And though you cried in the night and asked why, the silence was not silence, it was sacred. The teacher is often silent during the test, but that does not mean he has left the room. The silence was filled with his gaze, his guidance, his guarding. The delay trained you to trust him beyond what you could see. It broke your pride, purified your motives, deepened your faith. The holy pause was building a foundation no storm could shake. You were not forgotten. Heaven was not closed. The promise did not die. It was hidden, not lost, buried, not broken. The delay was sacred ground, a refining fire, a secret altar. And now that the season has come, the time of divine movement has begun. What you thought was a loss was a setup. What you thought was forgotten is about to be fulfilled. What you thought was the end was only the beginning. Because when God delays, he multiplies. When he waits, he prepares the way. And when he moves, no power in hell can stop it. The delay was divine, and its end is the dawn of your destiny. There is a rhythm that governs the heavens, and it is not the frantic ticking of human clocks. It is not the urgency of our demands or the pressure of our schedules. It is the appointed time, the divine calendar that exists beyond the eyes of flesh, untouched by worry, unmoved by panic. Heaven does not operate according to the urgency of man, but according to the sovereignty of God. What you call a delay, heaven calls preparation. What you label late, God calls right on time. From the beginning, the Creator set time in motion not to be driven by it, but to rule over it. He set the sun and the moon to mark days and seasons, yet he himself is outside time. When Abraham waited for the promise, it was not delayed, it was appointed. When the children of Israel languished in Egypt, it was not because God was distant, but because the time was not yet full. And when the fullness came, deliverance came like a rushing wind. Not a second too early, not a breath too late. We cry out, wondering why God does not move when we feel the weight of the burden, the urgency of the need. But heaven is not governed by emotion. It is not driven by crisis. The divine will moves in perfect harmony with purpose. Every act of God is set within an appointed time. There is a moment for the opening of the heavens, a season for the rain, a day for the release. And no amount of anxiety or impatience can hasten it. But when it comes, nothing on earth or under the earth can stop it. This is why the faithful must walk not by sight, but by trust. To walk in faith is to surrender your urgency to his order. It is to know that even in silence, God is not absent, that even in waiting, the clock of heaven is ticking toward the appointed hour. We do not see the preparation behind the veil. We do not hear the command whispered in the throne room. But when that time comes, the answer will burst forth, and you will see that it was never late. It was simply waiting for the divine moment. Heaven's timing cannot be manipulated, only trusted. You cannot bend it with desperation, only align with it through obedience. Just as the farmer waits for the early and the latter rain, so must the soul wait for the manifestation of God's promise. Not idly, but in faith. Not passively, but with expectation, knowing that when the appointed time comes, it will not tarry. And when that hour arrives, what seemed impossible will suddenly be done. What was withheld will be released. What was closed will be opened. And you will understand that the urgency you felt was never ignored. It was held in the hands of a God who moves not in haste, but in perfect, unstoppable, appointed time. The wilderness is not a place of defeat. It is the place of divine mystery. It is where the world forgets you, but heaven watches you. It is where men see barrenness, but God sees preparation. In the wilderness, the noise fades, the distractions die, and all that remains is the voice of the Lord. There are things that cannot be revealed in the spotlight, only in the silence. There are treasures that are not found in the palace, but in the desert. And what has been hidden in that wilderness season is now on the edge of revelation. The wilderness is where the prophets were shaped. It is where Moses saw the burning bush, where Elijah heard the still small voice, where John the Baptist cried out and prepared the way. It is the place where heaven descends and flesh is stripped away. What was hidden in the wilderness was never meant to stay hidden forever. The concealment was for consecration. The hiding was for the holy. The obscurity was not punishment but protection. Heaven covered you because the time was not yet right. The gift was too sacred to be exposed too soon. While the world thought nothing was happening, heaven was working. While others walked past, God was planting deep. In the wilderness, your character was being tested, your motives purified, your spirit refined. The spotlight was withheld so the oil could be pressed. You were not being forgotten, you were being formed. You were not being rejected, you were being reserved for such a time as this. Now the season is shifting. What was veiled is about to be unveiled. What was growing in secret is about to be displayed in power. The silence that covered you is breaking. The ground that concealed your purpose is trembling. You did not die in the wilderness. You were born again in it. And now comes the time of revelation. The world will see what heaven already knew. The assignment that lay dormant is awakening. The voice that was silenced is about to roar. The calling that was questioned is about to be confirmed. It was in the wilderness that manna fell, that water came from the rock, that the glory cloud descended. So too will your unveiling be marked by the miraculous. The doors will open not because of influence, but because of obedience. The promotion will come not by the hand of man, but by the breath of God. You will not need to explain or justify. The evidence will speak for itself. The fruit will be undeniable. The oil will overflow. The wilderness will testify that you were with God. And when it is revealed, all will know it was not by your strength or striving, but by His Spirit. What was hidden was holy. What was delayed was destined, and now the moment has come. The wilderness has served its purpose. The hidden is ready to be seen, and the glory of the unveiling will not be yours but His. There is a time when the fire refines, and a time when the gold is revealed. A season when the soul is tested in silence, and a season when the answer breaks forth like the dawn. The time of testing is not eternal. It is a season allowed by God, not to destroy, but to prepare. And now, that season is shifting. The time of testing is giving way to the time of fulfillment. The trial has done its work, and the promise is ready to be born. Every chosen vessel passes through the fire. Abraham was tested with waiting, Joseph with betrayal, David with delay, and even the Messiah with the wilderness. Testing is not a sign of rejection. It is the mark of calling. It is where the weak are broken and the faithful are forged. It is in the crushing that the oil flows, in the darkness that vision is clarified, in the silence that trust is deepened. You are not forgotten, you were being refined. But now, hear this, the test is ending. You have been weighed on heaven's scale and found faithful. What was once a proving ground is now becoming a platform. What was once the furnace is turning into the field of harvest. The tears you cried in private will now become joy in the open. The questions that filled the night will be answered in the light. God has seen, God has heard, and God is about to act. The time of fulfillment does not erase the test. It fulfills it. The waiting was not wasted, The pain was not purposeless. Every moment, every heartbreak, every unanswered prayer was a thread in the tapestry of destiny. The very things that caused you to question are the very things that will now confirm you. Because the fulfillment does not come in spite of the test. It comes through it. The furnace became your altar. The trial became your testimony. Now is the time when the cloud begins to move. Now is the time when the sealed door begins to creak open. You are stepping out of the wilderness and into the promise. The delay is over. The silence is breaking. The voice that once said wait now says go. The same God who led you into the valley is now leading you out and setting you on the mountain. What you held onto in faith, you are about to hold in your hands. You are not the same as you were when the testing began. You are stronger, purer, sharper, more surrendered, and because of that you are now ready. The fulfillment is not just for you, it is through you. What He is about to do will not only change your life, but will impact others. The glory that is coming will be greater than the pain that preceded it. The time of testing has served its purpose. Now the season of fulfillment begins. The promise is awakening. The blessing is moving, and heaven is declaring it is time. There are moments in life when it seems every door is sealed shut. You knock and there is no answer. You push and nothing moves. You pray, fast, believe, and still the doors remain closed. Opportunities denied, favor withheld, pathways blocked. But what if the doors were not closed to keep you out, but to prepare what was behind them? What if they were not locked by man, but held by God until the appointed time? That time is now. The command has gone forth. Doors that were shut are now commanded to open. When God gives a word, nothing can resist it. When He speaks, creation responds. The Red Sea parted not by strategy but by command. Jericho's walls fell not by might but by obedience. And so too, the doors before you, doors of calling, doors of destiny, doors of restoration, are not beyond reach. They were never meant to be opened by your strength, but by His word. And now heaven is speaking. The command has been released, and the doors are responding. Some of these doors were closed not because you were unqualified, but because you were being protected. You thought it was rejection, but it was divine redirection. If you had walked through too early, the weight of the blessing might have crushed you. But now you are ready, now you are refined, now you are positioned, and heaven is shifting in your favor. What was locked is unlocking. What was sealed is opening. What resisted is yielding. These are not ordinary doors. These are appointed doors, timed by heaven, guarded by angels, and assigned to your name. You don't need to manipulate or force them. You need only to walk in obedience, and they will open before you. Just as the prison doors opened for Paul and Silas, not by keys, but by praise and power, so too your praise and faith will be the signal for breakthrough. The sound of chains breaking is already echoing. The hinges are trembling. The barriers are breaking. This is not the work of man. No human hand can stop what God has ordained. No voice of doubt, no wall of fear, no decree of the enemy can stand before the word of the Lord. The doors are not just creaking, they are swinging wide. They are responding to the divine command. Doors of provision, doors of healing, doors of opportunity, doors of influence, doors of reconciliation, they are opening now. And when you step through, you will understand why the wait was necessary. You will see what was being prepared behind the scenes. The delay will make sense in the light of the breakthrough. Because when God commands a door to open, it is not just for access, it is for advancement. The doors that were shut are now commanded to open. Walk forward not in fear, but in faith. The keeper of the keys has spoken. The time is now. The doors are opening. Step in. There are places in your life where it seems all breath has left. Dreams buried, hopes faded. Prayers that once soared now lie dormant in silence. You look around and see ashes where there was once fire, ruins where there was once building, graves where there was once life. But the story is not over. What seemed dead is not dead to God. What looked beyond hope is not beyond his reach. For the same power that raised Christ from the tomb is about to touch your grave, and what seemed dead is about to rise with resurrection power. He is the God who waits until the fourth day, not because he is late, but because he wants there to be no doubt. He waits until the crowd has mourned, until the tomb is sealed, until the situation seems final, so that when he speaks, only heaven can take the credit. What seemed dead is the very thing he chooses to glorify himself through. Lazarus was not too far gone. The widow's son was not too late. And your situation, your vision, your calling, no matter how buried, is not beyond his breath. The enemy wants you to believe it's over. He wants you to look at the dust and forget the promise. He whispers that the delay means death, that the silence means abandonment. But heaven has a different word. Heaven says the grave is not the end, it is the setup. The seed must fall into the ground and die before it can bear fruit. And what looks like a burial is actually a planting. What seems finished is about to break through the soil. Resurrection power is not ordinary power. It does not repair what is broken. It brings life to what no longer exists. It does not simply fix. It transforms. It does not operate by natural law, it overrides it. When resurrection power moves, decay is reversed, shame is removed, time is redeemed, and what was impossible becomes inevitable. This is the power that is now drawing near to you. You may not feel it yet. You may not see it yet. But the shift has begun. Deep beneath the surface, the ground is trembling. Heaven has already spoken. The tomb is about to be emptied. The stone is about to be rolled away. The silence is about to break with the sound of life. What you buried in sorrow, you will reap in joy. What you released in surrender, you will receive in power. The dry bones are rattling. The breath is coming. The grave clothes are loosening. And where there was mourning, there will be dancing. Where there was despair, there will be hope. Where there was loss, there will be glory, because this is who he is, the resurrection and the life. And what seemed dead in your life is about to rise, not by your strength, not by your striving, but by resurrection power. Watch, believe, prepare, the tomb is opening, and the miracle is on its way. So now, let every word that was spoken settle deep in your spirit. The waiting has not been wasted, the silence was not absence. The delay was divine, the pain had purpose. What looked like an ending was actually a beginning. The God who moves in mystery is now moving in manifestation. What he whispered in the dark is about to be shouted from the rooftops. The shift is not coming, it has begun. The trumpet has sounded in the unseen realm, and heaven's decree is echoing through time. Your waiting is over. God is about to do it. You stood when it hurt. You remained when others walked away. You prayed when there was no answer. You gave when it cost you everything, and now the clouds are parting. The gates are opening. The dry bones are coming to life. You are standing at the edge of the fulfillment. Do not mistake this moment. Do not let weariness steal your wonder. Lift your eyes, for the King is moving and his word is sure. Heaven's timing has collided with earth's season. What was hidden in the wilderness is being revealed for his glory. What you birthed in obscurity is about to speak to nations. What you endured in the fire has refined you into gold. The doors that stood closed for so long are now commanded to open, not because of who you are, but because of who He is. No man, no demon, no force can hold them shut when heaven has said, open. And here this resurrection power is not an idea, it is a person. It is the breath of God entering what was lifeless, the voice of the Almighty calling forth what was lost. That dream, that purpose, that fire is not dead. It is about to rise. You are about to see the thing you gave up on come alive again. You are about to witness the impossible become reality, not by striving, not by effort, but by the Spirit of the living God. Let the past go. Let the failure be buried. Let the sorrow be washed in hope. You are crossing over, from waiting to walking, from testing to fulfillment, from hiddenness to unveiling. The winds are changing direction. The seasons are turning, and God has already gone before you to prepare the way. All that remains is your yes. So rise, stand, walk forward. The time of mourning has ended. The days of wondering have passed. The word has been released. The heavens have been opened, and the earth must now respond. Everything that was aligned against you is now bowing to the word that was spoken over you. The delay is broken. The promise is alive, and the power is moving. This is your time, not next year. Not someday, now. God is about to do it, and nothing can stop Him. Let your heart burn again. Let your faith rise again. Let your voice shout again, because the season has changed and your waiting is over.